Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's practice was requested by a friend of mine who is part of the University of Edinburgh Rowing squad. I hope you guys enjoy this session, and of course, although this session is focused towards rowing stretches, it is also great for if you don't do rowing. Cool, without further ado, let's get straight into it, beginning in a standing position, grabbing your hands together and pushing your arms forwards, just stretching off your wrists, and then raising them up to the sky and feeling out the stretch. On an exhale, bend over to the left hand side. Although it's tempting to bend your arms or fold forwards or backwards, try to keep your spine aligned and in one long straight line. And now go over to the other side, stretching out your left hand side body. Inhale and return back to center. Then open your arms out to the sides, bending your elbows and having a slight back bend before returning, grabbing the opposite side grip, so maybe the more awkward side now, stretching forwards and then lifting this up above your head once again. Throughout this practice, it's important to connect your breathing, exhaling to the left hand side, and then when you come up, inhaling and then exhaling to the other side. If you are practicing this with someone else, you should be able to hear their breathing quite distinctly, but if you're doing it really well, you won't be able to hear it over your own breathing. Okay, so inhale back to center, then exhale, slight back bend, and then we're going to come to the front of the mat if we haven't already. Still keeping a hips distance apart with your feet, you're going to come into a ragdoll position, folding forwards and bending your knees as much as possible, letting the lower back release whilst grabbing opposite elbows, just letting a bit of a sway to sway, side to side. Remembering it doesn't matter how much you bend your knees. I myself have particularly tight hamstrings, so I encourage bending your knees as much as it feels comfortable. Okay, so coming down to a yoga squat, just rolling out the wrists. I myself find this particularly comfortable. Maybe it's the Asian inheritance helping me here. But if you don't find this as comfortable, then you can go on to the balls of your feet and your heels don't necessarily have to touch the ground. Okay, so bringing your hands together and using your elbows to push your knees out, opening the hips out even more. Then we're going to cross our arm across our body and maybe use the other hand or arm, should I say, to stretch out the shoulder. So a bit of yoga multitasking with the stretches, swapping the arms over while still retaining that yoga squat position. Remember to still be breathing in these positions before releasing the arm and coming back to our yoga squat position with our hands pressing against each other. Then we're going to come to an all fours position and we're going to rock forwards and backwards from here, which is a great way of mobilizing a lot of our body, especially the wrists, which get a bit of a stretch and dynamically moving through this position. Connect the breathing to this, so inhaling as you come forwards and exhaling as you go backwards. Once you've done this, turn your wrists the other way around so your hands are facing towards you and carefully rock forwards and backwards, making sure we don't add any excessive sharp pains. If this position isn't accessible, then just stick to the first one. It's better to save your wrists than overdo it. Okay, so shaking your wrists out and coming back to an all fours position. Then inhale for our cow pose and exhale for cat. Move at the speed of your own breathing. There's of course no race in this motion. Come back to neutral position. And then we're going to thread the needle, so lifting our right arm all the way up for a twist, and then threading it through, landing our shoulder onto the ground, and maybe even stretching our left hand in front of us for a slightly deeper stretch. It should feel really great on your shoulders, but also should be a nice twist as well to detox any tensions in the body. It can be nice to close your eyes in this position and really let yourself melt into the pose. To unthread the position, bring your left hand back towards your body. If you stretched it out, bring your right hand all the way up to the sky, twisting out, and then preparing for the other side. Left arm stretches to the sky, then threading the left shoulder this time onto the ground, and once again with the option of putting our right hand forwards for maybe a slightly deeper stretch here. Remember to relax. It's a yoga session, and of course, breathe. So a few more long deep breaths here. Feel the body and let any excessive tension release. Then once we look to unthread, bring our right hand towards us and then lift our left hand all the way to the sky to de-twist. Coming into a child's pose with our arms extended out in front of us, about mat's distance apart, and our knees out wide, allowing our body to come as flat to the ground as possible. One of my favourite positions, not because I'm super lazy, but because it is really comfortable and a great way of actively recovering. We are now going to walk both our hands over to the left hand side, maybe stacking our right hand over the top of our left hand to get even deeper stretch to the side. So a lot of today's practice will entail side stretches to release any tensions from sitting, often neglected throughout our normal day movements. Sometimes I find myself with an angry face during yoga and realise that it's a bit unnecessary. So try to release any tension in your jaw or face if you find yourself doing this. Coming to the other side, so walking our hands over to the right hand side, maybe placing our left hand over our right hand for a deeper stretch. Last few deep breaths. And then gradually coming back to the center and returning to our normal extended child's pose, letting our forehead possibly rest against the ground. So preparing for our main flow, coming to our upside down V or downward dog position, pedaling out the feet to start off with just to stretch out the calves. So bending one knee, then the other, while simultaneously stretching and straightening out the other leg. You can even add a bit of a twist to this if this feels good. Return back to a neutral downward dog position, then come into the balls of our feet, pressing our heels off the ground, and then bending our knees and pressing our heels to the ground, and getting a nice deep shoulder stretch as we bend our knees. And we're just alternating from the balls of our feet to bending our knees and stretching our heels downwards. Now lifting our right leg up into the air for our three-legged dog, holding this, flexing our right foot towards our shin, and then opening the hip out to the side, and maybe even looking under our right armpit. With control, place your right foot between your hands, dropping your left knee to the ground for a low lunge position, lifting our hands all the way up to the sky. Be conscious of your breathing to allow tension to release, especially across the front of our left hip flexor. Then grab your left wrist with your right hand and bend towards the right hand side. This may feel quite awkward balance wise, but try to engage your core to keep this position, or maybe even widen your stance slightly for a wider base. Bringing both hands forward, straighten out the right leg and bend the left knee. You should feel a nice hamstring stretch from here. Ensure your right foot is flexed back towards your shin. This will make the stretch even deeper and add a bit more to the calf as well. Also, try to keep a flat spine, at least flatter than mine, and you'll find this will be easier if you've got less tight hamstrings. Okay, so coming forwards and placing your left hand onto the ground and twisting out to the right hand side. Then we are going to possibly, if this feels comfortable to do so, grabbing the left foot and adding that quadricep stretch. When I first did this stretch, I felt quite a sharp pain on my knee. So of course, if you feel this, let go of the pose and return to the previous one of just stretching the hand up to the sky. Neither way is better, just find what works best for your body. Last couple breaths, really getting into the stretch across the shoulder as well as across the quadricep. Then placing both hands onto the ground, kicking back into our three-legged dog, so our right leg extends all the way back and then places back onto the ground, returning to downward dog position. Breathe, and then we're gonna come to our bellies, so control the descent onto your belly and rest your head on top of your palms, grabbing your right foot with your right hand, once again getting into that quadricep stretch in a more passive sense. Remember, no angry faces in this practice. Relax any tension that isn't needed. Breathing, letting go, maybe even cracking a smile. Why not? Why not be happy whilst doing this yoga practice? Okay, so releasing that foot and then grabbing your left foot with your left hand this time. And you might find that you get a bit of a shoulder opener whilst you're doing this. So once again, yoga is a great multitasker on stretches, and even the act of lying on a belly can help massage our digestive system. So letting go of the foot, and we're going to come to a mini Cobra, so lifting up with our upper body, keeping our lower body down to the ground, then exhaling back down to the ground. 2 more times. Inhale, mini Cobra, exhale, back down. And no cheating here, so no using your arms. So lifting up, holding, then releasing, then pressing up into a child's pose to relax here once again. Back into one of my favourite poses. Breathe. Lifting up into a downward dog position, and you might find that it's slightly different to the first time. Then this time our left leg's going to come up into our three-legged dog, opening our hips out to the side. Then with control, placing our left foot between our hands, assisting the foot if needed, lifting into our low lunge, this time stretching our right hip flexor. Double check your left knee isn't overshooting your foot. Make sure that the ankle is aligned underneath the knee. Then grab your right wrist with your left hand for a side bend on the right hand side, engaging the core for this somewhat balanced position. Inhale back to a straight spine, then placing both hands back onto the ground, straightening your left leg, bending your right knee for a hamstring stretch. Once again, flexing that left foot back towards the shin. Enjoy the pose. It might not be comfortable, but it's doing a whole lot of good for your body. So if you keep this in mind, it can always help you sustain the pose a bit more. Rebending the left knee, then we're going to come to our twist. So our right hand onto the ground, left hand comes up to the sky. Once again with the option of binding our right foot with our left hand, creating a deep quadricep stretch. Of course, this is an option, so feel perfectly comfortable to stay in the previous position, whatever serves your body the best. Last few deep breaths. Then releasing the grip, kicking back into a three-legged dog with our left foot and returning to a downward dog position. Now we're going to walk, step, or maybe jump our feet to the top of the mat, inhaling flat back, exhaling forward fold, and then inhale all the way to the top, reaching our hands up and then grabbing our left wrist with our right hand and then side bending to the right hand side as we did at the start of the session. Swap the grip and bend over to the left hand side. Return back to center, opening your hands out with a slight back bend, then forwards fold, inhaling to a flat back, then exhaling forward fold, then walk, step, or once again jump, and with control descend onto your belly, placing your head onto your hands, once again grabbing your right foot with your right hand for a quadricep stretch. Be present of your body, and maybe you could go even slightly deeper. Swapping the grip to the other side, so grabbing your left foot this time, breathing, enjoying the sensations. Release your left foot, then 3 mini cobras once again, inhaling, lifting up, exhale, release, inhale, lifting up, exhaling, release, and last time, inhale, holding this position and pushing back into our child's pose, feeling any sensations that might be different to how you felt earlier in the session. Let's meet back in a downward dog position, repeating our earlier flow. Right foot comes up to a three-legged dog, bending and opening the hip to the side, then with control placing our right foot between our hands into our low lunge position. Once again, grabbing onto our left wrist with our right hand, bending over to the side, engaging our core to keep this balance. Then returning back to center and pushing back, right leg straight, flexing the toes back to the shin, breathing into the poses, rebending the right knee, twisting out to the side, right hand can possibly bind onto our left foot as an option. Remember, no competition here, just do what serves your body the best. Last deep breath here for exhaling and letting go of the grip, then meeting back in a downward dog position. Slowly and in a controlled manner, come to your belly, this time grabbing both your feet, preferably actually your ankles to protect your knees, flexing the feet. Then you're going to lift up into a bow pose, so this will stretch both your quadriceps quite deeply, as well as adding a bit of a back bend and shoulder releaser. letting go of the grip and coming back down, placing your palms as a pillow for your forehead to make things a bit more comfortable. We're going to repeat this once again, so bending both knees, grabbing both ankles, lifting up as high as you can, smile, breathe. Won't be long until we can return back to child's pose. Release the grip, and then we will in fact be in child's pose, maybe to your appreciation. Remember to breathe here. It's a great time to reconnect to your breathing if you've lost it. And we're going to come up into a downward dog to finish off our final sequence. So lifting our left leg off the ground, then opening our hips out to the side and placing our left foot between our hands to a low lunge position, grabbing our right wrist with our left hand, stretching off to the left hand side. Return back to a straight spine, placing both hands onto the ground, sitting back for our left hamstring stretch, still flexing our feet back despite them wanting to point forwards. Bend our left knee once again, twisting out to the side with our left hand up into the air and possibly grabbing onto our right foot for our bind. Smiling, remember just to have fun, and the practice will be more enjoyable. If you had the bind, releasing the grip, placing both hands back onto the ground, coming back to a downward dog position, and now we're gonna jump, walk, step, whatever form of travel suits you best to the front of your mat. Inhaling, flat back, exhale, fold forwards, then you're gonna inhale all the way to the top and exhale, hands to sternum, and then inhaling back up again, grabbing your left wrist with your right hand for our side bend, coming back to center, swapping out the hand, bending over to the left hand side, back to neutral spine, then forward fold, inhaling flat back, exhale, walk, step or jump to a plank position, then we can go to an upward dog position this time, keeping our thighs off the ground, looking over our left shoulder, accentuating the stretch on one side, and then looking over our right shoulder before pushing back to a downward dog position. Breathing here, lifting up our right leg to a three-legged dog, then placing the foot to the outside of both hands, releasing the left knee to the ground, and we could come to our elbows if this feels accessible and serves your body. Otherwise you can stay on your hands, and we're going to be here for a little bit, so really focus on deep inhales and exhales, releasing tension and letting gravity do most of the work. Last few long deep inhales and exhales, feeling the sensations and letting them go. Slowly walking your hands up, and then you're gonna come into a pigeon pose, so your right shin is gonna come across in front of your body, and once again you can come down to the ground with your head resting on top of your palms like a pillow as we did earlier. Otherwise you can stay up a bit higher, and the idea is to flex your right foot, protect your knee, and also bring the right foot as high as feels comfortable, but ensure that the hips are level to the ground. If you need an assistance, then maybe place something under your right hip to alleviate any pressure on your knee. You can thread the needle by threading your left arm underneath and placing your left shoulder onto the ground for an extra bit of stretch. Yoga multitasking 101 right here. Of course, you don't have to come into this posture, just find the position that's best for you, as we've been doing for the rest of the class hopefully. And remember to also continue with the deep breathing. If you threaded the needle, then release this and come up into the pigeon pose, then tucking your left toes under, kicking back into a downward dog position, coming to the other side this time. So lifting our left leg up into the air for a three-legged dog, placing the left foot to the outside of both hands and letting that right knee come to the ground. This pose is known as lizard pose or runner's lunge. Great for releasing tension around the hip and maybe any sciatic pains you could be feeling. If you went to your elbows on the other side, then I recommend doing it this side as well, although one side can feel slightly different to the other. Breathing as we come closer to the end of our practice and into our deeper and longer stretches. Last few breaths before we come to our pigeon pose. So placing our left shin across our body, flexing our left foot, and maybe putting something under our left hip if there's a bit of a gap between the hip and the floor. Then walking our hands forwards and maybe placing our hands on top of our palms to release our head to the ground, with the option of course of staying up on our hands. Be as present as you can in these longer poses, feeling any tensions and just letting them go with each and every exhale. Now, if you did this on the other side, thread the needle with your right arm this time to add the shoulder and twist to this pigeon pose. If you didn't do this on the other side, then I recommend just staying in the pigeon pose as it is, keeping as much balance to the body as possible. Last few deep breaths. Then unraveling, coming to our pigeon pose, tucking our right toes under to return to a downward dog. Just settling here for a little bit, maybe observing the different sensations in your body. Then walk, step or jump to a yoga squat. And once again we're going to roll our wrists out as we did at the start of the session. Just make any movements that feel good for your wrists, just letting it all go out, making sure that they feel as loose and comfortable as you want them to, maybe even shaking your hands out. Once again, crossing our left arm across our body, releasing our shoulders even more, then swapping out to the other side. And once you've done this, bringing yourself down to the ground for our butterfly legs, opening our feet out like a book. And I'd suggest doing a loose diamond shape for this one for a more restorative pose. And just fold forwards from here. Maybe our head can reach our feet. Don't worry if your back rounds from here. Just want to release our lower back and let ourselves relax, melting into this position, not keeping any muscular contractions from here. Last few deep, long breaths. Then slowly coming up, bringing our left foot towards our bum and crossing our right foot over the top of our left leg to come into a twist. So inhale, our arm around, and an exhale for the twist. Trying to keep a good posture from here, helping to release the forward fold stretch. Last deep breath before we release this position and swap, so our right foot's coming towards our bum, left foot crosses over the top of our right leg, and then twisting to our left hand side. Once again, try to keep a nice straight posture and remember to of course breathe here as well. Okay, so releasing the twist and unwrapping our legs, then straightening our left leg out in front of us and bend our right foot behind, coming down and stretching out the front of our quadriceps, probably the deepest stretch for our quadriceps so far. If it's comfortable, you can lie flat on your back. Otherwise, I suggest just staying on your elbows or on your hands, just going as far as feel comfortable. You can even close your eyes in this one and just chill out as we are coming close to the end of our practice. Okay, slowly and carefully come out of this position, maybe rolling out to one side to let the foot come out. Give your legs a little shake, probably feel a bit more comfortable. Then we're going to swap to the other side, so bending our left knee this time, and then coming back as far as you did last time. Maybe you gradually go to your back as you get more comfortable in the posture. Once again, you can relax your eyes and just chill here, focusing on being present with our breathing. Last few deep breaths. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten you guys. Now slowly coming out of the pose. Once again, just being careful of how we come out of these poses, shaking our legs off, getting the blood back in to our legs, and then coming to our backs and grabbing both knees to our chest and maybe just rocking side to side slightly to massage our lower back. Letting go of both our legs, coming to our final pose, Shavasana, otherwise known as corpse pose. If you have the time, please don't skip this part. It's a great way of feeling the sensations and closing our practice. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Otherwise, hope you have a great day, and I'll leave you here. Peace.